What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to you with a quick topic for today, and it's going to be about the Phoenix Suns. And they're in a predicament where they lost their coach that was building for the future, trying to develop young talent, give them playing time, and see what they got, see who can become a star, see who can really play, who should stick around, and the players that they should extend. Eric Bledsoe is now gone. He's not part of the Phoenix Suns' future anymore. Tyson Chandler, he's about to be out of Phoenix too. I like the Tyson Chandler pickup because he can teach Alex Len some defense and stuff, but it really didn't work. The Tyson Chandler, he basically just wasted 3-4 years of his career collecting a check because he did play hard. He was healthy a lot of the time, but at the same time, he wasn't winning any games. He wasn't competing for a championship, and they're still rebuilding with him. So when he signed that extension, you thought, oh, they might be trying to make the playoffs. They might be making a big run. And honestly, they had Bledsoe. Devin Booker was improving, but it just never panned out to be nothing but a lottery team. So I think Tyson Chandler just wasted the last 3-4 years of his career just playing in Phoenix because they haven't did anything. Another thing with them moving on with Eric Bledsoe, it do give them more time to actually figure out who they're going to have at their point guard position, because that has been a problem even when they had Eric Bledsoe, because he's kind of older than other players on his team, even though he's still in his 20s. They took a gamble on him because the Clippers didn't want him anymore. So they say, hey, Eric Bledsoe has a potential to be a star. He has potential to become a two-way player. And honestly, he became a 20-point scorer a game one season, I believe, in Phoenix. So it wasn't really a terrible trade. And you still got draft picks out of it when you traded him to the Bucks. And you still got Greg Monroe, which is going to give you salary cap relief after this year. After this season, they'll have more salary cap because Greg Monroe contract is expiring. And on top of that, it didn't pan out, but you have to give him credit for taking the risk to try to get that franchise point guard. But when they traded for Bledsoe, he was real young, and he could have developed into a franchise point guard for them, and he never did. And they had to move on from him because he wasn't happy. And now they're stuck in a situation where their wings haven't lived up to the hype. And what I mean by their wings, Josh Jackson is having a solid season. It's a little disappointing, but we knew he couldn't shoot, so we didn't really know what to expect. But he's not having a great season. You still have Marquise Chris at the power forward position. He's basically not. They went from starting him to now he's kind of. He plays so bad that he might not even be an NBA player. They had high hopes on Dragon Bender, and he never really panned out so far. He's a 7-1 center or / power forward that can shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor, but he never really developed into anything special. He had his NBA skill set was his shooting. Marquise Chris was his versatility, and they both, the reasons why you wanted to draft him was the potential. And even though they're both 20 years old, they haven't really lived up to the potential. And Marquise Chris hasn't really lived up to the versatility that he brought. He hasn't really developed into anything but a bench player. And I know that Bender, he's early in his career too, but he's not an NBA player at this point. He's a bench player to me. And you could say, Quinn, they could be using them wrong. They're not getting the right matchups. They're not getting the right coach. They're not putting them in position to succeed. They're not utilizing them to their strengths enough. And that's probably why, Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender has been terrible. And I say you're right. Maybe it was the coach. That's why they fired him. Maybe they need somebody to put them in better positions, put them run better plays for them, build up their confidence. They need a better point guard that can keep them involved, making them feel a part of the offense while still playing to their strengths. And maybe that is true. We don't really know why they're struggling, besides that they're not playing well and they haven't been able to really knock down any shots and score points consistently. And the problem with it is, they drafted those two players in the same draft, and they both haven't really panned out. So it's like we might can play one at power forward, one at center. Maybe we can use Marquise Chris as a small ball center, and none of that has panned out because he's not a great scorer and he's not a great defender, and neither is Bender. It sounded smart having two young power forwards that can play together and can spread out the floor for players like Bledsoe and Booker and guys like Warren, well, PJ Tucker and stuff that can, they all can spread out the floor, but it didn't really work like that because they both haven't really shown that they can shoot, and they haven't really shown that they're a threat from the three-point line, and they haven't really became anything else but that, and they still have to fill out the rest of their game before people start respecting them as scorers, and they only average in single digits. So nobody is really scared of Marquise Chris. Nobody is really scared of Dragon Bender either. And another person I wanted to talk about was Alex Len. He was another guy that they had high hopes on, drafting him in the top spots. But he played 4 years. This is his 5th year, and he hasn't really became nothing either. And I seen potential in him. I think that he could potentially be a starting center in his league. He could potentially be a decent player, and he hasn't panned out at all. He is averaging 9-9, but he's getting more opportunities because he's playing for a bad team, and even that, he's not putting up good numbers to be on a bad team, because you can put up empty numbers because you have to take all the shots and you have to have people make shots and make plays, and Alex Len hasn't stepped up in that opportunity to try to become a focal point of the offense and try to become a star and try to demand the ball. And even if he did, he hasn't really shown that he can score and post up enough to where it warrants him getting the ball and getting the opportunity to score. They used to run post-up plays and plays for him back in the day. They starting to give up on him. They didn't even give him a extension, which means they most likely will be moving on from him. And hopefully Bender or Marquise Chris can step up even more with him gone and Tyson Chandler gone. But if they don't, they might not be signing them to extension. So you have multiple lottery picks, especially for the big man, that none of them has really paid off. And they always say it takes big man longer to develop. It takes them longer to learn how to post up. It takes them longer to develop skills. You have players like Anthony Davis and Karl-Anthony Towns, DeMarcus Cousins, coming out very quick, having skills, and coming out very quick, developing. But back in the day, it was hard to develop a lot of the centers. Yes, you had the Hakeems, the Patricks, the Shaqs, but you also had the solid center that had to fill into their body, fill into their skills, and continue to enhance them. And these big men that they have drafted hasn't shown even superstar. They haven't even shown all-star. They just show role-playing potential, and that's has become a problem to me for the Phoenix Suns. The point guard position is kind of cancerous too, because Brandon Knight has been injured. He's still young. He still can score. He still can shoot, but he might not be the same after these injuries. Tyler Ulis is just too small in defensive liability. I don't think that you can have him as your starting point guard. And not only is he 5'10", he only weighs 160 problems, which means you also going to have a matchup problem on the defensive end with him at point. You have Mike James. He's a solid point guard, but he's not that guy either. He's more of a backup point guard. He's not a star point guard. He's not a superstar point guard. And, of course, you have Devin Booker, the only guy that's showing potential that he can be a star in his league because he can shoot the three, score off the dribble, score off screens, and make plays for other people. He needs to continue to become a better pick-and-roll player. He needs to continue to become a better ball handler and playmaker because they're going to need him to make plays, whether it's scoring or passing or finding a hockey assist to get an open guy. And I think he will develop into that. His team is just too bad for him to really earn all the accolades because they're not winning. You can't put the blame on him, but he can play more dominant. He can play more better. It's just at the same time you want to be a team player, so you got to kind of balance it out. The thing I wanted to talk about the most is, should the Phoenix Suns draft another forward? You have a lot of big power forwards and small forwards and centers coming up in this draft. Should you give up on Bender? Should you give up on Chris? Should you give up on Josh Jackson, who only played one season, to draft a guy like Bagley, to draft a guy like Don, the guy from Europe? Should you draft a guy like Michael Porter? Should you go for a center, even though you got a roster full of people that can play the center position? I don't know what direction they're going to go in. I don't know if they're going to continue to tank. I don't know if they're going to give up on these players quick or just try to find a way to get better quickly, even if it's trading their future players that might develop into stars, but they're not really showing it right now. So let me know what you guys think about the Phoenix Suns. Should they rebuild? Should they tank? Should they trade these players for draft picks? Should they just give up on these players and try to draft somebody that they see more potential in? Or should they just continue to be like the Sixers until we can find another player that can play with Devin Booker? Let's continue to find who we can trade for, or let's just keep playing the draft until we find us a superstar. And the Sixers made it popular. The Sixers showed that it's possible to lose for multiple seasons and draft players like Ben Simmons and Embiid and Fultz, and it can turn your franchise around like that if they can stay healthy and if they can play together. And maybe the Suns might have to go in that direction. Do I want to see it? No, because it's bad for basketball, and it's going to be bad for Devin Booker because he might not want to stay there because they're going to be a terrible team, and he'd rather put up stats and numbers on a team that's winning than just continue to rebuild and collect a check and be miserable because the team is continually losing. So let me know what you guys think. Check out my website, NasirPlayground.com. Check out my Facebook page, NasirPlayground.com. The link will be in the description for my website and my Facebook page. Like on my Facebook page to show support is all I'm asking you guys to do. And check out my website, NasirPlayground.com. Link will be in the description, comment section below. Quinn Wade, Basketball Nasir signing out. Let me know what you guys think about the Phoenix Suns and what they should do.